Hey guys, welcome to Solo ReacTalk. This morning I'm going to be reacting to, let's see here, let's see a name, Sitting Bull, or should I say Buffalo Bull who sits down. No Reservations, Native American History Part 2 on the Extra History YouTube channel. If you guys want to check out my previous reaction to the other Native American history videos made on the Extra History YouTube channel, the reaction playlist card is going to be at the top right here. If you guys want to check out the original video as well as Extra History's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. Okay, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
It's 1862, and the U.S. government has just received a letter confessing to an assassination. The victim, Bear's Rib, a Hunkpapa Lakota chief who had agreed to receive an annuity of goods from the U.S. government, at least before he was shot outside of his tent one night. "We notified the Bear's Rib yearly not to receive your goods," reads the letter signed by 9 Hunkpapa chiefs. "He had no ears, and we gave him ears by killing him. We now say to you, bring us no more goods. If any of our people receive any more from you, we will give them ears as we did the Bear's Ribs. We also say to you that we wish you to stop the whites from traveling through our country, and if you do not stop them, we will."
I like in the animation there you can see the blue coat soldier, just reading the sentences. That's nice. That's nice.
"If your whites have no ears, we will give them ears. Now,
If you have no ears, we will give you ears. I like the choice of words. Wow.
Sitting Bull was not one of these 9 chiefs. For while Bear's Rib advocated for peace, accommodation, and a middle way, Sitting Bull represented the other extreme. No treaties, no agreements. And if that meant war, let there be war. Thanks so much to the fine folks over at Cell to Singularity for helping to support today's historical tale. The assassination of Bear's Rib, or Bear's Ribs, accounts differ on his name, show the difficult position of the Lakota in the 1860s. By all accounts, Bear's Ribs didn't want to accept the annual delivery of goods the U.S. agents were pressing onto him, but he felt he had little choice. He wanted to avoid war, believing it would bring ruin, so he tried to take a middle path and was killed for it. And again, while Sitting Bull was not one of the 9 chiefs who signed that letter, he definitely wasn't above giving the settlers ears. Indeed, while the U.S. Army had declared the 1862 Dakota War finished, it was by no means over for Sitting Bull. Actually, from his perspective, it had never really begun. He'd heard no
It has not begun?
declaration of war, no pronouncement that the Bluecoats were coming to avenge the deaths of settlers. Not only had the Hunkpapa not been the ones who'd attacked the settlers, in violation of the 1851 Fort Laramie Treaty, not a single Hunkpapa had been present when that treaty had been signed. A chief from another Lakota tribe had been designated as representing all Lakota and made his mark on a document after a negotiation mired in mistranslation and intentional deception. These treaties essentially laid out 3 items. First, it drew borders for the Plains tribes, insisting that tribes stick to their own territory rather than following the buffalo. Second, it instructed them to stop warring amongst themselves and attacking settlers. And third, in return for this, the government would keep settlers out of tribal territories, and Indian agents would distribute food and goods to those living on those agencies of reserved land.
Yeah, definitely they are stuck between a rock and a hard place, especially for those who want peace, like Bear's Rib. But this type of peace was not going to last long. Bear's Rib is assuming that this government is going to keep to its word and that they're not going to continue their, colonization effort over the territories that belong to the Lakota and to all other, Native American tribes within that area. And also the various tribes within that area are also not really on the same page on finding peace. Like Sitting Bull, he was not consulted, he was not given a voice, really. He was just told that this is the new agreement, this is the new reality, you must accept it.
However, if a tribe violated the first two clauses, US troops could legally fight them, which is how the Dakota War began. So in other words, the Dakota War began when a tribe Sitting Bull was not a part of attacked settlers in a place that he wasn't present, violating a treaty he never agreed to. And because of this, the army had attacked his camp, without warning, burning treasured belongings and killing women and children.
Yeah, I can understand Sitting Bull's position on this. He was brought into this type of situation without him having a knowledge or representation or, agreement with anyone. And now all of a sudden his people are the ones being targeted because of the actions of others.
For then, he'd never fought any white soldiers, only other tribes. And now he refused to stop fighting just because the others had surrendered. Especially since, after several large groups of Dakota surrendered, 38 warriors were hanged in the largest mass execution in US history, while other prisoners and their families died of cholera in internment camps.
Oh my gosh.
Perhaps partially for this reason, Sitting Bull increasingly believed any dealing with the whites would mean the death of not just the Lakota, but the whole loose political confederation the US government insisted on calling the Sioux. But during the Dakota War, he'd also learned how costly fighting the Bluecoats could be. These soldiers did not carry the musket trade guns of his youth, but rather rifled mini-ball killers, and increasingly, repeating rifles. Worst of all was the mountain howitzers, which the Lakota referred to as the gun that shoots twice, due to the boom of the cannon than the burst of the exploding shell. Indeed, he witnessed their damage firsthand by bandaging a wound his uncle Four Horns received during the Battle of Killdeer, and then he himself being shot in the hip with a pistol after a raid on an overturned wagon. The powerful war medicine of his shield, activated by a song to invoke its powers, had kept him alive. But the wound was sobering. They simply could not fight the Bluecoats head-on. So instead, he initiated a guerrilla war against forts and settler trains. See, gold deposits had been discovered in Montana, and increasingly, thousands of miners were blazing a trail through Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho territory to mine it out. These were
this is bad. And the moment they start finding more resources closer to where the Lakota tribes are based, the treaties are going to change. They're going to change. There's going to be excuses found, there's going to be reasons found, and then all of a sudden the treaties are going to change. It'll be more beneficial for these miners and for the colonial government.
treaty violators, illegally occupying Indian land and scaring the buffalo away with their clumsy hunts. So, when Sitting Bull's forces harried these efforts, the miners and troops accompanying them responded with deadly force, and at times, even more horrifying tactics. At one point, settlers intentionally poisoned a box of hardtack and left it partially burned, knowing it would be salvaged and brought to the village. 100 people, mostly women and children, died after consuming it. And despite the fact the treaties promised the US government would keep these settlers out of their territory in the first place,
they were never going to keep to their word. Never.
The United States found it politically unpalatable to use force against white citizens on behalf of Indians. So, Sitting Bull and others like him decided to take matters further into their own hands. In response, the U.S. Army set up a series of forts to protect the miners, which the Lakota considered another treaty violation. Though, in truth, by the 1851 treaty, the land they operated on was owned by the Crow, and the Lakota had either captured or occupied it, depending on your perspective, since then. Either way, due to these provocations, in 1866, the Oglala Lakota chief Red Cloud formed a coalition of Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho and went to war on the U.S. Army. He actually quickly dealt a serious blow to the Federals that December when he lured 81 soldiers into an ambush, killing them to a man. At the time, the largest victory of Plains tribes over Federal troops. Within 2 years, the U.S. government, unable to fight the war and secure the construction crews of the Transcontinental Railroad, decided to settle with Red Cloud. They pulled out of the forts, and in the second...
Another treaty that's going to be torn up, another treaty that's going to be burned, another treaty that's just... It's a stopgap measure until they find another excuse on why they should continue on their assault on Native American, communities or tribes, and continue to expand themselves into the territories, into the lands that have been demarcated for their people by the very same government. They will find reasons to continue on pushing. These treaties were never meant for peace. They were never meant, for the continuation of Native American people and their way of life and their culture. It was never meant for any of that. It is just a very slow strangle hold on their necks.
Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868 laid out the Great Sioux Reservation, containing the Powder River region that had previously belonged to the Crows, and the sacred Black Hills. One major stipulation was also that white people could not settle there without Lakota consent. But that was not enough for Sitting Bull, who to this point had been a relatively peripheral figure in the war. Red Cloud could do as he wished, and Red Cloud would stay on the reservation for the rest of his life, but Sitting Bull disdained any accommodation. He believed that to be dependent on the U.S. government for food would only put the Lakota in their power.
Exactly. You don't have the freedom to work for your own life. You don't have the freedom to follow the buffalo. You are now contained in a small section as a reserve for your people. You can't get out. You can't further expand yourselves. You are limited in that space. Whatever happens in that space, it's all on you guys. And you'll be dependent on the resources and the food coming from the colonial government. No.
You are fools, he said, to make yourselves slaves to a piece of fat bacon, some hardtack, and a little coffee and sugar. For his part, he would continue to follow the buffalo, and he would continue to fight the army, the settlers, and the railroad crews. For the one thing that Red Cloud had given up was the right for the United States to put a railroad straight through Lakota land. And it was in a skirmish with these railroad surveyors and the troops protecting them that Sitting Bull performed his greatest act of military valor. For years, Sitting Bull had battled rumors of cowardice. He was what was known as an old man chief now.
Cowardice? Sitting Bull, a coward. Oh, wow, all right.
His 40s, and more of a holy man and political leader than the fearsome front-rank fighter of his younger days. And many of his followers, those still willing to fight, were young warriors, men who had not yet counted coup and bristled at the idea of sedentary living without proving their manhood on the hunt or in battle first. And in this environment, accusations of cowardice are dangerous. So Sitting Bull does something unbelievably brave. He strides towards the enemy unarmed. Bullets buzz in the air around him and slap dirt clods up around his feet, though he seems unconcerned.
Hey, his shield is working overtime. His shield is working overtime.
Doesn't even look at the men trying to kill him. Instead, trusting to his war medicine to keep him unharmed, he sits, begins to light his pipe, and then calls to his companions to join him. Ducking and nervous, bullets still flying past them left and right, a few come, sitting in a circle and puffing hectically at the pipe in a display of bravado. But not Sitting Bull. He nurses that tobacco in contemplative silence as bullets still drum around him. Then, his pipe smoke out and his companions starting to edge away,
where are you guys going?
He simply knocks the burnt plug out of it and begins to clean the bowl. When he finally walks back totally unharmed, no one will ever question the old man chief's bravery again. Instead, he has created a legend that will make more men follow him straight into the jaws of the enemy, right into the Little Bighorn.
Become the symbol. Become the legend. Sitting Bull.
And while we wait for that discussion next week, I know what I'll be doing. Continuing to explore our shared historical journey in the phenomenal free-to-play idle game Cell to Singularity that has been recently living in my brain completely rent-free. I'm so pumped they wanted to sponsor us. The game is just an absolute delight. Actually, it's kind of the perfect synergy between everything we love here at Extra Credits and Extra History. The TLDR is you play through the entire development of life on Earth and the vastness of our solar system. Like, literally everything from Cell to Singularity Singularity. You start in the primary simulation, which spans everything from amino acids to humanoid colonists, to the Stone Age to Martian cities. But then you get to branch out into the Mesozoic Valley simulation, where you can see dinos. Hi, dinos. Oh, bye, dinos. And the Beyond simulation, which covers our solar system and beyond. Plus, there's even a rotating fourth simulation they have that spans a ton of topics, from things like the history of tea, to philosophy, to the human body, and more. I love checking in and seeing what's cooking over there. And with its intuitive gameplay, gorgeous art style, and killer scientific and historical factoids for every unlock along the way, I've been playing this game non-stop for weeks. And I'm literally playing right now as Jeff and I are writing this read. Look at this. Say hi to Jeff. I found some bunnies. Let's make more bunnies. Actually, a quick aside, we got to speak with the developers of Cell to Singularity for a bit, and they were just an awesome group of folks who were passionate about science and history, who also wanted to make a game that was just so much fun that you can't help but want to play it. Again, very much like what we strive for on this channel, so I was just super happy to send folks their way. You can try out Cell to Singularity for free right here, and then be sure to leave it running while you check out our next video here. Say, did you hear the one about Kuya Koi, Joseph Blame, Izzy Coin, Ilkner, Dominic Valenciana, Arclight Games, Angelo Valenciana, and Ahmed Ziad Turk being legendary patrons? Yeah, turns out they're the best.
Alright guys, that is it with Sitting Bull, No Reservations, Native American History Part 2 on the Extra History YouTube channel. Yes, definitely the Lakota clans, they were caught in a rock and a hard place. They have been contained in a small area. They have been told within a, written in a treaty that they cannot follow the buffalo, that they are kept within a little demarcated box, essentially, for their own existence. They are told that they're no longer allowed to fight amongst each other, which I say that that's actually a very good demand right there in the treaty, that they should not be fighting amongst each other. It is sad that they are still fighting amongst each other whilst they're being surrounded by a far more dangerous enemy. They should not be fighting amongst each other, especially when this threat is going to exterminate their way of life, their people, and it's going to take over their land. So yeah, it is unfortunate that they needed a treaty to tell them to stop fighting. And essentially the American government has made sure that the Lakota will be dependent on them by giving them food, by giving them other forms of resources, and fighting against the colonial government is also very expensive, very detrimental to the Lakota, because of the new types of weapons that are being brought onto the battlefield, and the new tactics that are being used, and the continuation of the railway going deeper into their territory as well. It is going to be a very difficult task, even for Sitting Bull, to gain a very strong victory against the colonial government, because they'll just keep bringing in more forces into this conflict with Sitting Bull and the other Lakota chiefs that are still against this treaties of peace or understanding. It's going to be a very difficult situation in terms of them trying to make sure that their way of life continues. It's going to cost blood, a lot of it. And this notion that Sitting Bull was rumored to be a coward, I don't understand how did that come about. I really don't understand. Maybe the young ones were not told who Sitting Bull really is. They were not told of his successes and his exploits and his knowledge and understanding and his experience on the battlefield. Maybe they weren't told about Sitting Bull. They weren't told about the time when he was called, what is he called again? Jumping Badger. Yes, the Jumping Badger. They weren't told when he was called the Jumping Badger and how he, got the new name of Buffalo Bull who sits down. And why do they call him Buffalo Bull who sits down? But he definitely proved them wrong, all of them, that, he's no coward. He is a tactician. And he is a medicine man. And he has very powerful, potent medicine that protects him. Because it's amazing that all of those soldiers on the American government side, they were shooting at him, and all of those bullets just kept on missing him. He was even stationary. He sat down, and somehow those bullets did not hit him. Yeah, it's an amazing story. Definitely, it's an amazing story. But yeah, he proved them wrong that, he is brave, he is capable, he is willing to fight, and he is a tactician. He doesn't boast, he doesn't have bravado sense of a military commander. No, he thinks before he acts. And yeah, I wonder what's going to happen next now, as this continuation of conflicts continue to engulf all of the Lakota. And yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens in part 3 of this story. That will be next week. Yes. Hopefully I will be here next week Tuesday, to react to it. And yeah, guys, that's it. Remember, if you want to check out the original video as well as X-Ray History's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. If you like my reaction, give it a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And I'll see you guys hopefully next week. Fingers crossed. Okay, bye-bye.